These days, it is rather so easy to get into a debt trap. Thanks to all the credit that is available to us via buy now, pay later schemes and credit cards as well. And while it is so easy to get into a debt trap, it can be so difficult to get out of it. So, in this video, we are going to talk about some key tips for international students on how to avoid the debt trap in Australia. Now, before I get started, here is a very important shout out to our friend Gursevak Singh, who has gone out of his way to help international students by writing this article for us. And we are creating this video based on that article and some of our personal experiences as well. So, without wasting any time, let's discuss about this important topic. Now, first thing first, what is a debt trap? Now, debt can be a good thing at times, but a lot of times it can be a challenge as well. Like, for example, a good debt can be helping you to borrow money to come to study Australia. A good debt can also help you to buy a house or a nice investment, and many other good things can be done through debt. Now, sometimes if you don't manage your money well, then this debt can be really dangerous as well. So, debt trap is where you owe lots of money to bank or other credit companies and you're unable to pay them back at the right time, and this debt keep on increasing day by day. But if you don't know how to manage the money well, and if you spend more than what you are earning, this can be start of a debt trap. And unfortunately, because it is so enticing these days with all these offers, new gadgets, people get into these debt traps. So how as an international student you can avoid getting into a debt trap? Now, before I get started with my tips, it's important to understand that I'm not a financial advisor, neither is Gursevak. And this is certainly not a financial advice, as this video is based on the experiences of our team members and the author of the article himself. We always recommend you to do your own research, and if you are in a situation where you need help, we highly recommend you to get a professional advice. That could be through a financial planner, through an accountant, or someone who can actually give you advice on this. So here are some tips now on how to avoid this debt trap. The first tip is avoid credit cards or buy now pay later schemes. See, the thing is, many students will come in and they see their friends buying these fancy gadgets like the latest and greatest phones, iPads, laptops, even cars, and then they feel like I should buy one as well. And somehow you manage to get a credit card or use these buy now pay later schemes. You can easily buy these things even if you don't have much money in your pocket. But it is important to understand that the money you are spending is not actually your money. Basically, you are using credit, which is the money you are borrowing right now, and you have to pay it back later on. And after borrowing this money, whether through credit cards or through buy now pay later schemes, you can't pay them back on time. You will be charged with hefty interest rates and late fees as well. And the interest rates on these services are phenomenally high. You will see how quickly these payments will keep on growing and makes your life really hard. Now, if you can't pay it back at all, it will certainly affect your credit score in the future. Now, credit score is basically a number which helps the borrowing institutions like bank and finance companies to see your credit worthiness, which means if your score is higher, they are more likely to give you a loan or borrow you money. And if your score is very low, then it can certainly affect your borrowing capacity. As a student, you might not realize about this credit score thing, but in the long run, it can be a really painful act, especially if you want to borrow money for buying a house or for some other things. It can become a big hassle. So that is one of the most important tips for avoiding a debt trap. And the second tip is in regards to understanding your finances. As a matter of fact, you should be knowing where your money is coming from and where it is going. So basically, you need to know your income and your expenses during the month and how much money you are saving as well. And to do that, you can create a basic budget. It doesn't have to be too fancy. You can create a simple Excel spreadsheet in order to manage these finances. But it is very important for you to understand where this money is coming from and where it is going. And as a student, you obviously have to manage everything by yourself, so this becomes a really important task. And not only understanding the budget is important, but also to keeping it under control as well. That is our next tip. So what happens usually is Once you start earning bit of extra money, let's say you used to work on $21 per hour and now you have got a new job which is paying you $30 an hour, which means you are making more money, doesn't mean you have to start spending more money as well. And that is why that budget can really help you to nail down your income, expenses, and your saving strategy. It is a good idea to update your budget spreadsheet regularly, at least once a month. But the more you keep an eye on it, the more often you can update it will be even better for yourself. And these days there are lots of apps as well that you can use to manage your budgets. And some banks also provide some budgeting options in their apps as well. Now the next step is creating an emergency fund. Look, the things can go wrong at certain times. Sometimes you might lose a job, or you are unable to work because you got sick, or there is some other emergency that might come around in your family back overseas. So these expenses sometimes can creep out from nowhere. So for that, it is a good idea to have some emergency fund for yourself. Now some finance experts suggest that you should have at least 3 months worth of expenses as your emergency fund. So if you know for the next 3 months it will cost you around $2,000-3,000, then that should be your emergency fund. I personally like to keep at least 6 months of money as an emergency fund, just because sometimes things can go wrong. After all, it's life. So having that additional emergency fund can really help you out in case those emergencies actually come in. But the idea behind creating this emergency fund is you do not touch this money until and unless you really need it. And that is the reason why we call it emergency fund. The next step is to learn finance. Finance and budgeting is a basic topic that actually should be taught in our schools, but it's not. So as soon as you have a chance, you should start learning about finance. It doesn't mean you have to become a finance wizard. What it means is that you should be able to manage your own finances well. Now the basic finance knowledge should be about how to budget, how to save money, how to plan for your future expenses and emergencies, taxation, and how to make sure that your money is safe and secure. And for that, there is a really good book that me and Gursevak recommend, and that is known as The Barefoot Investor. Hands down, this is the most popular finance book in Australia because it is so easy to read and understand, and it makes perfect sense as well. Now if you don't want to spend any money buying this book, that's fine. You can look up in your local library. I've seen this book in some of the libraries I've went in my life here in Australia, so you can easily borrow this book from library. So definitely a recommendation for you to learn about basic finances. And based on this book itself, here are some rules for Barefoot Investor. The author of the book, Scott Pape, recommends that you should have at least 4 buckets that you should be setting up for yourself. Basically, by buckets, he means that how you should be allocating your income as soon as you receive it. So as soon as you receive some income, whether it is from your employment, business, or your parents, here is how you should be allocating this money. 60% of the money should go to the blow bucket, which is about spending. And this spending is about your everyday expenses, like your living expenses and so on. 20% of your income should be going to the fire extinguisher bucket, and this bucket is specifically for paying any debts that you have. 10% should go to the splurge bucket, which is basically spending money on yourself, like eating out, buying new dresses, new clothing, and so on. 10% of your income should be going to the smile bucket, which is for the long-term saving account. Now that's a very basic way of how the money should be split according to that book, but you can definitely work out which percentage works out better for yourself. And there are plenty of good resources available on internet these days, so you can easily learn more about finance. Now before we end this video, here are some important resources if you need to get help in regards to your debt situation. Now the first resource is Money Smart. This is an Australian government's website that gives you heaps of information, tools and resources for helping you to manage your finances and budget. They give you a ton of information that can help you on your finance journey. And if you are in a situation where you need help with your debt, there is a National Debt Helpline as well. The number is 1-800-007-007. Here you can call to get some free information and advice on your debt situation. And as an international student, you can call this number as well. Well, I hope you find today's information useful. Again, heaps of thanks to our friend Gursevak who has helped us writing this very important topic. If you want to reach out to him, we'll make sure we'll put the link of the article he has written plus the link to his Instagram page as well. And we will put some other useful information in the description as well. So make sure to check it out. And from our audience, we would love to hear as well, do you actually create a budget for yourself? Are you good with managing your own money? Let us know about it in the comment section below. And if you are someone who really loves writing, DM us on Instagram if you would like to write an article or two for helping other international students out and sharing your personal life experiences like Gursevak did. And as always, if you find any information useful, please make sure to share it with your friends. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.